Hello everyone, today I will be reviewing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was directed by Milos Forman, came out in 1975 and is based on a novel of the same name which was released in 1962 by Ken Kesey. In this film we see Jack Nicholson play a prisoner called Randle McMurphy, and Randle is moved from a prison to a mental institution. And in this mental institution, we see all sorts of patients who are obviously in there for different reasons. And the woman in charge of all this is called Nurse Ratched, and she is played by Louise Fletcher. Now, really, what this film deals with, it's often one of these films which is known to be dealing with the issue of law and order versus chaos and rebellion. So Nurse Ratched really is a character. She likes things to be a certain way. She's very authoritative and likes order, law and order, rules and respect. Whereas when Jack Nicholson's character Randle McMurphy comes in, he brings a different atmosphere to this mental institution that all these patients are used to. He's a bit more free-spirited, a bit more rebellious, and he generally just brings a different vibe to this mental institution, starts to bring out different sides to all these different patients that are in the institution. The title of this story, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it actually comes from this old nursery rhyme, and one of the lines in a nursery rhyme is one flew east, one flew west, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Obviously cuckoo being slang for someone who is crazy, and cuckoo's nest being a metaphor for the mental institution itself. We also get some brilliant supporting actors in this film. We get early appearances from Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd, who actually both went on to star in the TV series Taxi. We also get an appearance from Scatman Crothers, who plays Mr. Turkle, and he has some very funny scenes in this film, some very funny dialogue. It's quite an entertaining character, although he doesn't have a massive role. And one of the star performances is actually Will Sampson, who plays Chief, who is a deaf and dumb Indian character, and he actually does play quite an important role in this film. I must also say that Louise Fletcher, who plays Nurse Ratched, is a very good character because she's really the main antagonist of the film, although she's not necessarily an evil character. It's slightly debatable whether she is trying to do the right thing or whether she does have an evil side to her. She certainly comes across like she does care for these patients and she wants the best for them, but at the same time she seems to have this evil side to her, as if she actually enjoys seeing these patients suffer. But really, obviously, the star of this film is obviously Jack Nicholson as Randle McMurphy. He is absolutely fantastic in this film. Every scene he is in, which is obviously most of the film, he completely steals, and even in scenes where he's not saying anything or he's just looking around, it's all in his facial expressions, his body language, all absolutely perfect. And as a result, this film did really well at the Oscars. It won the 5 main Oscars. So it won the Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director for Milos Forman, Best Actor for Jack Nicholson, Best Actress for Louise Fletcher, and the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. So it was very successful, and it also did extremely well at the box office. It grossed $300 million at the box office, and at the time it became the 7th highest grossing film of all time. At the time, obviously, it's obviously been overtaken since, but it was a very successful film indeed. We also get an appearance by Brad Dourif in this film as Billy Bibbit, and this was his first on-screen appearance. And Billy Bibbit as a character, he's one of the youngest guys in the institution, and he's had several problems with women in his life, and he really is a character which Randle McMurphy really gets along with very well. And Billy Bibbit plays quite an important part in this film, especially quite later on in the film. We really see his character start to change and become a bit more rebellious against Nurse Ratched, and as such, his performance is actually very good. He was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, but unfortunately he didn't win it. But then again, this film did win the 5 big Oscars anyway, so that's impressive enough on its own. So I watched this film last night, and this was the second time that I had seen it, and I have to say I think this is probably one of the greatest films of all time. And the reason why I love it so much is that, well, probably because Jack Nicholson gives such a great performance, and all of the characters in the film are relatable in some way, particularly Randle McMurphy, like Jack Nicholson's character. He's such a likeable character, and all of the patients in the hospital, they're all individuals. They all have their own problems, their own personalities, and their own issues which need dealing with. And what happens is Randle McMurphy sort of goes into this institution and he finds out different things about the characters, and he can relate to them in different ways, and he brings out different sides to all these people. And it just shows how loyal all these patients can be to each other once they're all brought together in this way. So I really think this film has a real heart to it. It's a very emotional film. There are some scenes which are very sad, but there are also some scenes which are very happy, and actually there are some very funny scenes in this film as well, particularly with Jack Nicholson's performance as Randle McMurphy. There are some very witty, very funny lines, and some of the other characters in the film are also very funny and give very entertaining performances. So I have to say, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I think it's a fantastic film. I think it's a must-see film. There are some scenes in this film which are quite difficult to watch, but really it just is a fantastic story, and it's worth watching just for Jack Nicholson's performance alone, because I think this is one of the best performances in any film really, and Jack Nicholson is actually possibly my favourite actor of all time, and I think this is his best performance in a film that we've ever seen, which is quite a big statement because Jack Nicholson has been in many great films and given many great performances, but this is my personal favourite performance of his. So I'm going to give One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest a rating of 10 out of 10 because I think it's a near perfect film. Actually, I might as well just say I think it's a perfect film, to be honest. I can't think of anything wrong with it at all. So I think it's a must-see film for absolutely everyone. So yeah, definitely go and check out One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest if you haven't seen it already. So, well, there we go. So that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So what do you guys think? Have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Please let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.